Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I am Rishabh Gulati. Ladies and gentlemen, as we traverse our lives of us as human beings, we remember the milestones. We remember the year we graduated from school. What batch were you? With the year we went to college, the year we maybe had our first relationship, the year we got married, the time when we had our first child. Milestones in life, your first paycheck, your first mutual fund investment, all the first time you bought a car, the first time you bought a house or invested in a house, the first house you had in which you maybe paid rent. Milestones. What's the milestone that we need to put in the ground for year 2024 for India as a country? Rather, what are the milestones across the various sectors and length and breadth of the diversity of what makes up a vibrant economy, which in the end is just a sum total of all the work you and me have achieved together. Let's put that together. We are calling it the Bharat Progress Report, BPR 2024. 101 milestones that we have knocked off the blocks as we enter 2025 and build the groundwork for a Viksit Bharat. So what are the 101 milestones on the road to a new India, the 101 milestones on the road to a new Bharat, the 101 milestones on the road to 2047's Viksit Bharat? We've broken them down into 10 categories, 101 milestones. I'm going to narrate them in this special exclusive digital edition of this telecast, and we're going to provide information across the board. Let's kick this off on our screens with the biggest and most important figure that we always mention, GDP. What has been the GDP of India? So if you Google it, World Bank will give you a different figure, IMF will give you a different figure, government sources will give you a different figure, budgetary documents will be estimates, then revised estimates. It's very confusing because financial years matter, quarter on quarter growth is a different figure. All of this matters. So we've simplified it. The consensus figure is that India's GDP grew by 7% between January and December of 2024 in the calendar year, not the financial year, which meant India was the world's fastest growing major economy. That's the bottom line figure for you. The fastest growing major economy in the world at 7% GDP growth. This is what we have clocked up and this is what we have achieved as a milestone for 2024. Now, how does this then translate to the second milestone of 101 when it comes to India's forex reserves? This year, ladies and gentlemen, in the month of September, India's forex reserves, foreign exchange reserves, hit an all-time high of $704 billion. Now, forex reserves fluctuate as this is being telecast. They might have gone up, might have gone down depending on where you're watching it, but September 2024 was a record all-time high. This means that 96% of India's foreign debt is accounted for in foreign exchange reserves. That 11 months of whatever we need to procure for the country from abroad, we can buy. For 11 months, we have enough money in the Reserve Bank of India in terms of dollars and equivalent assets to procure things from across the globe, which means that if our export revenue, dollar revenue investment went to zero tomorrow, for 11 months, we will afford to pay our bills. A very happy all-time record high was achieved in 2024. Milestone number 3 on your screens on the economic front. I have put up a very interesting one for you. Have a look at this. India's per capita availability of fruits and veggies hit a record high in 2024. 227 kilograms of fruits and vegetables were available in this country for every man, woman and child who is a citizen of India living in India. So we produced the nutrition, the caloric intake that we require to feed ourselves in the form of fruits and veggies at a record high of 227 kilograms for each one of us. You've seen it on your screens. You need to have 150 kilograms of fruits and veggies per person per year. We are now as a country at 227 kilograms and this is a remarkable increase year on year, and of course it's a record all-time high. Number 4 on your screens, non-performing assets of banks went down to 2.7% in 2024 compared to where they were in 2018 at 11.1%. So these are all the loans that are given out by our financial system, by our banks, which the bankers sometimes don't want to write off, because then what happens to their balance sheets? Well, recapitalization. This is fundamentally important because we know the last 2 great economic financial shocks in the world happened because of banking bubbles, because of real estate bubbles, loan bubbles. Well, you have to ensure that your banks are capitalized and their NPAs are at lows. Here's the good news: they have fallen to 1/4 of what they were, to a manageable 2.7% in 2024. Number 5, in the category of economy of the 101 milestones, FDI, foreign direct investment. So when people bring money into India, foreign institutional investors, foreign portfolio investors, and foreign direct investors, the FIIs, they can pull out money. They are going into your stock markets, they're going into companies. It's an investment that is easily returnable. It's an investment sometimes done just for interest arbitrage. But foreign direct investment means foreign investors coming in and investing in your ports, in your infrastructure, in your railways, in your highways, and they are looking at returns on a 20 or 25-year period. Well, there was a time when if we had 10 or 15 billion dollars per year of FDI, we used to consider ourselves lucky. Then that became 35 to 40 billion dollars a year, and we thought we were doing amazing. Well, in total, India's total FDI crossed the $1 trillion mark in 2024, a milestone on the road to Viksit Bharat, which was achieved in 2024. Number 6 on your screens, in the category of economy, exports reached a record $778 billion. Look at this figure, and it's going to go zoom past $800 billion in 2025. Have a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, the last 15 years, our exports in dollar value have nearly doubled. This is not an incremental growth. We are now seeing an exponential growth in the stuffs that we produce, in the services that we produce, that we sell to the world, accounting for about 2% of the world merchandise export. A long way to go, but we've come a long way, and fingers crossed, this is a milestone, a record that gets broken every year until the next milestone is achieved in 2047. Number 7 in the category of economy on your screens, unemployment rate fell to 3.2%. Now, this I know is a contentious, highly debated figure, and the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is that at least half the number of people who are wage earners in this country are in the unorganized sector, right? And you heard this conversation before. But when it comes to people who are job seekers in the traditional organized salaried class, that unemployment has gone down to 3.2%. What the hiring, job growth figures are highly contentious in this country because of the unorganized nature of our majority of our workforce. I'm going to address them in other milestones to give us a summation. But the headline figure of those job seekers in the organized workforce, 3.2%, milestone, a very comfortable figure to be at. Of course, one would want it to be better and also reflect the unorganized sector as well. Now, number 8 on your screens, in the realm of economy, EPFO, Employee Provident Fund Organization. So, ladies and gentlemen, a person who is a salaried employee gets a salary, and a certain percentage is put by the employee and the employer into the provident fund. That goes to the EPFO. The EPFO then has a corpus, and then that corpus becomes an investment corpus with which they can invest monies into the stock markets, into bonds, into the growth of India. Well, guess what? The EPFO investment corpus hit a record 24.75 trillion rupees in 2024. This is contributed by the fact that there are more number of people who are salaried employees contributing to the EPFO, that the more number of people are contributing even more per year because their earning through those salaries has gone up, therefore their percentage contribution to EPFO has gone up, and also that the pre-existing investments of the EPFO have gone up, record amount of money lying in what is meant to secure the pensions of all of us salaried people as we grow up and grow older and head into retirement. This payout comes back to those contributors at that point of time. Number 9 on your screens, in the realm of economy, have a look at this. 7.29 crore income tax returns were filed. Not too long ago, 10-15 years ago, less than 1% of India used to file income tax return and pay income tax. Okay? You know that in this country, agricultural income is exempt from income tax. Now, if you do the mathematics of 150 crore people and you say that, okay, 40 crores under 18 obviously will not be paying salaried income tax as individual taxpayers. So, of the balance number of tax filers, we have gone to 7.29 crores, which is a record. First time we've hit this mark. Now, this means that your taxation system is becoming more simplified, that more people are willing to file income tax returns, that it has become easier to process your income tax returns and rebates and returns, and all the complication that used to be impossible now with your e-filing systems have become easier, and also the tax base is broadening. It has gone up 4 times in the last decade. We are hoping that this keeps on increasing, because that means the burden of direct taxes, individual taxes, is being shared by a lot more people investing and invested into their economy. Interesting figure here. Number 10 in the realm of economy, before we move on to the next category, which is industry. The highest ever gross GST collection happened in April of this year. It was 2.1 lakh crore rupees. Now, despite the issues we had when GST launched, and the software and the website and the returns and the rebates and the adjustments and the, the recent things, when we have a GST council meet, we end up debating popcorn in this country and whether it costs this much or that much. We all know that GST is a game changer, and as we iron this out, we polish it up, make it smoother, make it more sensible, make it more logical. Every month should be a record month going ahead. But the biggest record was hit. Yes, March, April, you see the highest number of GST filings. So, watch out for April 2025, March 2025, but April 2024 record. In 1 month, the government of India received 2.1 lakh crores. Of course, that is to be shared with the states in the Federation of India. Now, that was the category of economy. Number 11 milestone now comes under the category of industry. Have a look at this. India ranked 39th out of 133 countries in something called the Global Innovation Index of 2024. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the core to the future growth of our economy. It's the R&D, it's the product creation, service creation, software creation that is taking place. We were in the 80s less than a decade ago. We have gone up to the 30s, 39 by 2024. And let's be practical. You can see the glass is half full or half empty. The half full tells you that we've gone up 40 places. The half empty tells you that you cannot be a major industrialized 5th generation industrial revolution economy if you are not in the top 5. So, we have a long way to go, but we are heading in the right direction. The patent filings, the papers that are being written in all fields of startups and cutting edge and nanotechnology and quantum mechanics and medicine and you name it, AI. We want to be at the fulcrum of innovation. Here's some good news. One milestone we got in the top 40, target needs to be top 10. Number 12 in the realm of industry, and this is an interesting one, especially for large businesses. QIPs, qualified institutional placements, record. India Inc. raised a record 1.21 lakh crore by November 2024. So, not including the month of December. Look at this figure, 1.2 lakh crores, which means that certain companies which wanted to raise funds found investors who had a minimum market cap or a minimum experiential record or minimum bottom line revenue every year that they could raise funds. Look at the figure, a record was set in 2024. If you run a big company or involved in the operations of a big company, this is crucial to your investment and cash flow management. Industry had that record achievement in 2024. Number 13 on the milestones in the category of industry. It's an anecdotal one, but a very interesting one. Amazon, everybody recognizes Jeff Bezos. He has pledged that by 2030, in 5 years' time, Amazon will be exporting $80 billion a year of goods and services. Okay? Now, whether this is in Amazon cloud computing services, their server services, the products that are being shipped out by Amazon. Remember, Amazon is not only a marketplace for many people, it also manufactures its own branded labels. Sum total, just one company under Jeff Bezos has committed that they see potential in India, that their one company will be exporting $80 billion. And that's something that happened in terms of a commitment in 2024. Now, number 14 on your screen, and moving away from the anecdotalness of this to iPhone sales. Okay? This is not iPhone manufacturing, this is iPhone sales. Indians have now bought $10 billion worth of Apple iPhones. So, we have contributed $10 billion to the bottom line of Apple Incorporated. Okay? Now, of course, the ideal situation would be that this $10 billion is coming from mostly made in India iPhones, but that is now happening at an exponential rate, because you now know that the made in India iPhones are not only being sold in India but being sold all over the world. So, have a look at this very telling milestone which was achieved in India in terms of the adoption of high-end technology. And these Apple iPhones, you know, are pricey. So, you know that they are bought by people not with easily disposable income. So, it's a summation of affordability, of course, of aspiration as well. But that's a nice anecdote right here as point number 14. Point number 15 in the realm of industries milestone, and I'm mentioning this for a particular reason, Air India and Vistara. Ladies and gentlemen, if you saw the aviation market in India up until recently, you see the conundrum. The conundrum was, on one side the passenger traffic was growing exponentially, on the other side the airlines were going bust. We have seen airline owners, one who's absconding from India, the other one who's faced a turbulent time in jail for past dues and bad investments. It was all bad news. Then last year we had good news, which was the sale by the government of Air India back to the Tatas, which set up the airline. Well, the Tatas were running Vistara. These airlines have now merged, making one of the biggest airline players in the country and one of the biggest ones in the world. We know they are buying hundreds of new aircraft from both Boeing and Airbus. We also know that places like in Delhi, this single airport in Delhi, 150 destinations are being connected from one single airport. Boom, good news in what has been a turbulent sector. Well, that happened in 2024. Quick reminder. Point number 16, in industry, as we track the 101 milestones, our defense production hit 1.27 lakh crore, of which 20,000 crores were exports. Now, imagine the two biggest drains on your foreign exchange. Number one, energy, oil and gas, and number two, defense. India has forever been the world's largest defense importer. Ladies and gentlemen, from bullets to bombs, almost we made nothing. Now, if you look at how large the American industrial defense complex is, you cannot imagine a great power being reliant on somebody else for its defense. Moreover, when you understand that a single aircraft like the Tejas, a single aircraft to buy can cost you anywhere between $80 to $200 million. So, the day you are manufacturing the aircraft to sell, not simply to buy from abroad, one deal is worth 5, 6, 10 billion dollars. That's money, foreign exchange coming into India rather than going out. Well, that fulcrum shift is happening. This industry expected to go 10x in the coming years. Well, milestone achievement was made in defense production. Number 17 on your screens in the realm of industry. Data consumption. Look at this figure, ladies and gentlemen. 20.27 GB. This is average monthly data consumption, which means to say that all of us using a mobile phone, per individual in this country, we are averaging 21 gigabytes of data, which means that we, on any given day, with 800 million data consumers on mobile alone, are consuming 6 to 700 million gigabytes of data per day at less than 2 cents, 2 American cents, 2 pennies per GB. This has gone up 10x in 10 years. E-commerce, digital future. Payments, digital future. Entertainment, content consumption. You're probably watching this on a screen somewhere, probably being live streamed on an OTT channel. Data. You don't even think about data cost right now, and the average per capita 20.27 GB, a game changer milestone, exponential growth happening here. Now, number 18 on your screens, in the same category of industries, the Sensex, ladies and gentlemen, in September 2024 hit a record high. Now, there's been a correction, and we don't want bubbles in our market. Okay? We know it's not a one-way street, but year on year, every year, we are making record highs, and this record high was hit 85,978 points, was the tabulation of the top 30 companies on the BSE Sensex in September 2024. That's closed about 6-7% down from there as we enter into 2025, but a record high milestone was achieved once again in 2024. Now, number 19 in industry. As we move through the categories of the 101 milestones, I've included a very interesting one here, which many of you may have missed. Guess what it says on your screens? Lithium mine. India's first lithium mine, the GSI, said it's beginning in Chhattisgarh. Let's put some information on your screens. Ladies and gentlemen, every mobile phone you make, every EV you make, you are right now going to require lithium batteries, lithium ion batteries. It's very easy to make the EV if you don't have to worry about the component parts. But if you want the value chain from the raw material, that is lithium, last year we saw the inauguration of India's first lithium battery making company. Now potentially in a short while, that lithium battery making company will get its lithium source from India. So from the extraction of the raw material to the production of the battery, then the battery going into the mobile phone or the Apple iPhone or the EV, the value chain gets captured. You needed the lithium mines. We've been doing research in Jammu and Kashmir, in Ladakh, and in Odisha, and we've lithium mine Chhattisgarh. So watch out for this milestone. It's going to become a big ticket. It was announced in 2024. We are ready to go. They found the lithium. The mining operations are now ready to commence. Number 20 in the realm of industry. Startups, ladies and gentlemen, created 16.6 lakhs, 1.6 million direct jobs in 1 year. So these are companies that have just started in the year 2024, created 1.6 million jobs. We keep talking about job seekers to job creators, job seekers to job creators. Well, here you have it. This is across industries. And you know the interesting thing? A lot of these jobs, IT, healthcare, but a lot of these jobs were created in secondary, tertiary towns. And we'll come back to that point in a very short period of time. So this, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up the second category. We are down 20. 21 now comes on people's welfare, because we have to grow as an economy, but we have to bring everybody along with us. What's the point otherwise? Now, this is a very interesting figure. If you've been watching NewsX, you would know that exactly 1 year ago, in December 2023, we did survey-based analysis, anecdotal analysis, on-the-ground case studies on issues like street vendors. Street vendors, the person who has no collateral, and anybody running a business understands you need working capital. If you want to sell something, first you have to buy it from a supplier. Then you sell it at a profit, and the profit that you make, you reinvest into more inventory, and with a little bit, of course, you feed your family and yourselves. But if you have no collateral, how do you set up shop? Do you take a loan from family? Do you take a loan from friends? Worse, do you take a loan from money lenders? Or can there be an institutionalized scheme? Well, now there is. It has been established. And look at this figure. 13,422 crore rupees were disbursed under the PM Swanidhi scheme to street vendors. That is 13,500, $1.5 billion of money flew in. And how the scheme works is that initially they give you 10,000-20,000 rupees. Okay. Once you pay back the amount, then you can get 30,000-40,000 rupees. You can take a higher loan. You pay the amount, higher loan. So a person can run a small business, start off as a street vendor, and can get working capital. And the returns on this is very high. We are seeing north of 90% of the people who are due to pay back the loans, paying back the loans. In fact, many of them then getting categorization for a higher loan. An excellent scene that is happening, which is making sure empowered people are getting workflow, that you move on from a street vendor maybe to your own shop. Milestone achieved in 2024. Number 22, and this is a different take I want you to put aside on people's welfare. Okay, the figure tells us that 210 million people, okay, that, ladies and gentlemen, is 4 times the population of the United Kingdom, now have a 2 lakh life insurance cover. Okay, now this is under a particular scheme of the Government of India. The scheme, which has been rolled out under the name of the PMJJBY, is giving life cover. Now there is accident cover is separate, health cover is separate, life insurance is what we're talking about. So Government of India has to now figure out how do we empower people. We empower people by understanding that if one earning person in the household dies, that family can be driven back to destitution. If one person who's an earning member has an accident, that's a massive blow to the income resources of the family. Worse, sometimes medical bills mean that people have to sell their houses, sell their farmland to pay for the medical bills. So you need to have some support systems in place. Now the government can cut a check, or it can cut a check that pays insurance premiums, which means that these many people are now in a formal insurance sector, that for a person who would be earning 10,000-20,000 rupees a month, let's say, and if there is a loss of life, that family will get nearly 1 year of their wages as a lump sum. This is not a cost to government in terms of 2 lakh rupees. The government just has to pay the premium annually. The insurance company will give the individuals the 2 lakh rupees from the schemes that have been set up. So it's financial mechanisms benefiting poorer people. Look at the number of them, 4 times the size of the UK. Now, a different take on people's welfare. Malaria. Ladies and gentlemen, mosquito vector borne diseases have been the single largest killer. And let's stick to that. Single largest killer of all peoples in all of history, of all of humanity. Okay? Our malaria cases in India have gone down by 2/3. We in 2024 came out of the WHO's high burden country list. Okay? Because of malaria cases. Now, a lot of things contribute to this. The fact that more people are living in houses, therefore are less likely to be exposed. The fact that there is more awareness. The fact that there are more means available, like nets, which is what you're seeing on your screens, means our malaria deaths have gone down to 1/3 of what they were. Malaria cases have gone down by 2/3, deaths have gone down by 2/3, and dengue, chikungunya, all mosquitoes. Milestone achievement for people's welfare in this country. Number 24, in the category of people's welfare, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm recording this here is because jobs has been the biggest point of conversation. Now, we talked about startups creating 1.6 million jobs in the year 2024. Well, India Inc., its hiring growth, which means the number of jobs available more this year versus last year, was nearly 10% more. And the good thing, as I mentioned, that most of this job creation is happening in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So, which then means that we've seen the latest immigration numbers from the Economic Advisory Council of India, which is saying that internal immigration, which is very large, 40% of Indians are not where they were born. They are living in places for work, for economic reasons. That has gone down by 11 points, 11% down, because you're seeing the rise of tier 2, tier 3 cities, 10% growth in job creation in the organized sector in India over what we were doing in 2023. Number 25 in people's welfare, and I've given a different take, okay? Because when we talk about entertainment, you're thinking of these celebrities, okay, and the person earns 5 crore, 10 crore, 15 crores per movie. One movie makes 500 crores and becomes blockbuster like a Bahubali. But then we're talking about Southern Indian cinema, which is now rising, which is the in thing. Well, have a look at this. Think of all the musicians, the DJs, the sound recordists, the spot boys, the makeup artists who are working in an industry now expected to reach 3.6 lakh crore by 2028, and it is growing by between 8 and 10% every year. It grew by 8.3% in 2024, heading in a direction that is telling us how the economy of our country is changing. Now, 26 in people's welfare comes to a more hardcore welfare point. So, that was the mystery point. Here's the hardcore point: tap water. Ladies and gentlemen, in a country talking about all sorts of nanotechnology and quantum computing and space research, when a percentage of the women in this country spend most of their day walking kilometers with a matka on their heads trying to just have enough water to drink in their families because they did not have a tap, quote unquote, subjectively, metaphorically, objectively, it was a pipe dream. Well, in 5 years, the number of households that have access to a water tap has gone up 5x. We are at 79.6%, which means we are nearing saturation. That we can now visualize a time when every single house in this country will have tap water. Now, there are secondary problems to that just because you have a tap doesn't mean you have 24/7 water availability. That doesn't mean that the water is 100% safe and potable all the time. Many challenges remaining, but to at least have the tap. Now, the person who understands this figure means that if you're drinking water that is being delivered to your home, you are healthier. If the water is safer, the family is healthier. The women in the family therefore have more time to either educate their children or to seek means of employment. Incomes in their families in the family goes up. Not only drinking water, but then hand washing, bathing improves. So overall health metrics improve by just putting a pipe to somebody's house. 5x in 5 years. We crossed or neared that 80% mark in 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Now number 27 in our 101 milestones. Have a look at this. Now, I was just mentioning that the vast majority of India's workforce is unorganized. Okay? So, for that, the government of India has something called the e-Shram portal. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2024, 300 million people, informal workers, the dehadi laborers, they registered in this e-Shram portal. Now, what does the e-Shram portal do? The e-Shram portal gives people something called a universal account number, a UAN. Okay, this gives you a login details. You can log in. It advises you that which are the government schemes that you are eligible for. Can you get a pension scheme? Can you get a skills addition enrollment? What can you get? And you are going through the first ever process of organizing India's unorganized labor force. This is truly historic. You're seeing an example on your screens here of what that e-Shram card and the unique account number looks like across 400 different kinds of job categories. I mentioned, of course, what we understand is the dehadi laborer, the labor who works in construction sites included qualify for this big ticket item. Number 28 in people's welfare on your screens, taxpayer services. You all heard this recently in the end of 2024, PAN 2.1. PAN 2.0. PAN 2.0, ladies and gentlemen, basically is going to be, number one is going to be a QR code enabled PAN card. Now, I want you to think about it. every time you have to do some KYC or some investment or some bank related, finance related work, and they'll say photocopy of PAN card which is self attested. Well, if you have a QR code, it's all electronic, it becomes paperless. Okay. Then think about the fact that we've got a PAN card linked to Aadhaar card. We are reaching a place where for those people who have to file tax returns, you no longer have to worry about keeping a track, because at some point of time, hopefully in the near future, your PAN account number will help you keep a track. It will help keep a record of what is the interest you earned on your FDs and your savings accounts, what are the mutual fund investments you make, what was the TDS deducted. There was a time when you had to collect your Form 16 from your company and collect your interest certificate from the bank and TDS certificate from somewhere else, and then file it all together, and somebody would manually review it and then decide whether it is right or not right. Well, all automated now and becoming paperless. 1400 crores is going to be spent. This scheme has been announced. PAN 2.0 is coming our way. Overhaul of India's or upgrade of India's taxation system. Number 28 on your screens. Within people's welfare, houses, pakka ghar, lentil roof. I can't explain to you what it would mean for a person who might have a plot of land but cannot afford a concrete roof. It is not only changing your life, it changes your social standing. You become different. It is something permanent to leave behind even after you die. Well, 89 lakh house target has now been hit under the PM Awas Yojana, a scheme that is saying that if you have a plot of land, you can come to us, we'll give you 50,000 rupees and you build the 4 walls. Once you build the walls, come and take another 50,000 rupees, then you put in the roof, then you get another 50,000 rupees. Where you don't have the quality of the housing, we've seen the case studies which we've done. It'll have a kitchen, it'll have a small balcony, it'll have windows, it'll have a bedroom, it'll have a living room, it'll have a bathroom, it'll have piping, sewerage, water, electricity, a road outside with proper sewerage and facilities like electrical facilities coming your way, connectivity to a nearby road. You're talking about decent housing, not housing for the sake of housing happening. We hit that 89 lakh mark in 2024. Number 30 on our screens as we go through people's welfare. All India Institute of Medical Sciences, 5 more were inaugurated, not in the big cities, but places like Rajkot, in Jammu and Kashmir. The AIIMS is important as a flagship because not only is it providing tertiary health care, but it is also providing training for doctors. You know that the toppers in your NEET examination all want to go to AIIMS, and mostly they want to go to AIIMS in Delhi. Well, guess what? At the cost of 6,000-7,000 crores in 2024, as they enter 2025, they will have 5 more AIIMS to apply for. Have a look at that, Rajkot there on your screens. Big ticket achievement right there, achieved in 2024. Now, we shift categories as we hit into milestone number 31 and we go into infrastructure. Have a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm starting with the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and there's a reason, obvious reason, because for people to see change, what has happened? How is it different from 3-4 years ago? We've seen an election. Well, nothing tells that change more than road infrastructure, and 3,500 road building projects, including 217 bridges, were completed in Jammu and Kashmir in 2024. You can see photographs there on your screens which tells you their own story. This is what the people on the ground can see, because in J&K, connectivity is also about physical access in a mountainous region where the main highway into Srinagar goes right next to the LOC, with mountain tops that are being overseen by an enemy armed force. Big ticket achievement and infrastructure. So I'm going to begin there and then take you to point number 32, because this one you all heard of, you all knew. Ladies and gentlemen, Vande Bharat Expresses, okay? Just latest, have a look at this. We've crossed 136 trains that are being operated in this country, including the new ones which you've seen, which are doing the intercity. Ladies and gentlemen, just a few years ago, we launched the Vande Bharat, okay? Last year, in 2023, there were only 35 trains running. Look at how many we are now running. So these are routes, 136 routes we are now running in the Vande Bharat. 150 kilometers are top speed, totally new locos, totally new passenger cabin, which you can see on your screens. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these videos. But the point is, it can't just be one train for the photos. It has to become ubiquitous. Most of the trains need to look like this. So within the 5 years, in October 2019, we started the first Vande Bharat. Here we are entering 2025, 136 routes are now operating, hopefully a long way to go. Number 33 on your screens of the 101 milestones, rail electrification. This is important because we hit the 97% mark, which means the locomotives do not require diesel, which means that we can move away from rail being dependent on oil and gas imports, which means if we have enough green energy, we can have an electrified railway system running on green energy, which means you can have the state-of-the-art trains that are not meant for diesel locos, which also means that the diesel locos are limited only for emergency use, which means investment in all the line laying that needs to happen, which means ancillary access to better electrical facilities for a railway network that every day transports the population of Australia. Every day, the population of Australia is sitting in a rail carriage somewhere in India. Big ticket item. Number 34, under the category of infrastructure, 5G mobile subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, crossed 270 million. Now let me put this into summation for you. Obviously, somebody somewhere gets better 5G, somebody somewhere gets not so good 5G, but most of the big companies, including Jio, Airtel, have a near saturation, which means almost 100% of the country is offering 5G under the main operators. This also means, ladies and gentlemen, that the average broadband speed, just thanks to 5G, in 2 years, between October 2022 and January 2025, in 2 years, the average broadband speed in this country has gone to nearly 300 Mbps available on a mobile device. Now, this is not universal, this is an average. Somebody gets more, somebody gets less. 300 Mbps. You know what that means? That also means that you were sitting at 118th in the world in terms of broadband access. Now you are number 15 in the world in terms of number of your citizens who have broadband, true broadband access. You have jumped 100 positions in broadband access, and we also know 6G is going to be indigenous. We're going to be making the chips and the routers and the algorithms and the protocols right here in India, and that will be potentially between 2x to 20x faster. Major milestone achieved, exponential growth. Number 35 in the category of infrastructure, and I'm mentioning this as an example, as an anecdotal example. The Surat Diamond Burst is now the world's largest office building. Now, the reason I've included this because, hey, nice to have the world's largest office building, but I want you to imagine 90% of the world's diamonds are cut and polished in India. But our image of these old industries on which India has nearly a monopoly, even that is, there will be a small little shop somewhere where a person will be under one light and one pankha and be chipping away. Look at the building that has now been made for the diamond traders to be operating in, for the diamond shops to be running in, for the new diamonds which are now industrially made diamonds to be sold and exported. Look at this. So gone is the vision of that old gully in which this is operating, and this is what New India, which is running big industries, can potentially look like. So I put this into one of the major milestones of the country. Hopefully this gets replicated across many other industries which are broken up into small shops right across the country. Number 36 across 101 in the category of infrastructure, 27 kilometers of highway were made every day in this country. India made the distance between where I am standing and the Delhi airport, roughly about 20 kilometers. More than that of roads were built every day in this country. Now, this is a difficult benchmark because we have done better in the past. We are aspiring to do 40 kilometers a day. but 27 kilometers a day every day. And this is something that you can touch and feel and you can see, because you've seen the expressways, you've seen the highways that have been built around you, you've seen the change that is happening. You know, the irony now is that our highways are in better maintenance because they're brand new than sometimes our internal roads in Delhi and Bombay and Bengaluru, which are pothole driven. So a lot of urban renewal has to happen, but 27 kilometers, milestone 2024. We want to be hitting 40 kilometers, which is what our target should be. So growth from here. Number 37, in infrastructure. Well, medical colleges. Now I mentioned the 5 new AIIMS facilities. Well, we have doubled the number of medical colleges and we've increased the number of medical seats 130%, which means, ladies and gentlemen, that end of 2025, the number of seats available for all those NEET aspirants will be double. That by the end of 2028, India will be producing double the number of doctors it is producing today every year. Not slightly more, twice as much. Now, long way to go, but we have come a long way. Places and states which had no medical colleges like Telangana now are 65. We've come a long way to go. Milestone achievement has been achieved here. Number 38 on your screens in the realm of infrastructure. You remember this? The Atal Setu. Let's put some visuals there on your screens. Ladies and gentlemen, the Atal Setu, which is also known as the Mumbai Trans Harbour Link, which all of you also remember, that's what it was called during when it was under construction. Well, here's a reality check. The reality check is telling us that we built within 5 years a Trans Harbour Link, which in itself is 21.8 kilometers long. It has cut the transportation time from Mumbai to Navi Mumbai, which used to be otherwise 42 kilometers and used to take at least a couple of hours, to maybe 20 or 30 minutes. Now, we can of course discuss and debate what do we do when it comes to the toll and how much is very expensive, but this bridge is going to last 100 years. And we've built this in less than 5 years. My neighbor took more time to build their house than we built this 21 kilometer first sea bridge in this country of this scale. Big milestone achievement. Now, if you look at number 39, which is interrelated because the inaugural happened on the same day. This is India's first undersea tunnel. This has also been built in Mumbai. So this tunnel is actually running in the seabed. It's been drilled into the seabed, okay, both ways, coming and going, and you enter through Marine Drive, okay, and you can traverse this tunnel, because in a place like Mumbai, where do you build the roads? You have to either go over or under. Well, here we go, 29 kilometers, something remarkable. Inauguration happened in March of this year, all the way from Marine Lines to Kandavali in Mumbai. First one. Now, we've done the proof of technology, hopefully more to come in other parts of our coastal regions where they're required in high population areas. Now, number 40 in terms of infrastructure, and I'm going to expand the infrastructure category a bit way. The Dwarka Expressway. Now, Dwarka is part of the urban landscape of the National Capital Region of Delhi. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason I put this highway in, not because it's the biggest highway or it is the fastest constructed highway, but this highway is elevated, which means that the 19 kilometers highway is 19 kilometers long. The Dwarka Expressway, ladies and gentlemen, is seeing this 27 kilometers, 19 kilometers is elevated. Just think about it. Look at the visuals on your screens. 19 kilometer long flyover, that's what it basically is. Imagine a 19 kilometer long flyover has been constructed right next to the national capital. It runs from near the airport connecting Dwarka. It's a first. Now, if you want to build NH8 from Dholakwan to Manesar, you no longer have enough space because you've already built a 16-lane highway. Where do you go? You'll have to build a double-decker highway. And that's an example of what one can look like. Number 41, and we'll stick with the category of infrastructure, 15 airport projects, including 12 new terminal buildings were inaugurated in 2024. We're looking at new airports, new terminal building. Think about it. Bengaluru, you've seen the airport change. Chennai, you're seeing the airport change. Goa, Dehradun, Delhi, the new terminal building was inaugurated. In Jewar, Delhi is about to become India's first major city to have 2 major airports. And the Jewar airport is nearly ready. Hopefully in a few months, we'll be seeing trial runs of aircrafts operating from there. What a boom that is happening, major milestone in the infrastructure category. Let's move on to number 42. And we're going to just stick to infrastructure for a second because I want to mention Vizhinjam in Kerala. We'll put some information on your screens in more detail. Ladies and gentlemen, Vizhinjam port is India's first deep water container transshipment port, which means that this port sits just 10 nautical miles from one of the busiest sea lanes in the world that traverses the Arabian Sea, then of course heads off into the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, then goes across the tip of India and Sri Lanka, then heads off into the Straits of Malacca, then supplies the Southeast Asia all the way up to the eastern seaboard of China, where 60 to 70% of the world shipping takes place. This port is just 10 nautical miles from that shipping lane. This port in itself, currently its capacity is about 1.1 million TEUs. It's going to be built to 6.4 million TEUs, which means this one port will nearly double India's transshipment capacity. Transshipment means a ship comes from, let's say, Southeast Asia, drops off its containers, goes back, a different ship then takes the containers forward, transshipment of cargo, fully automated. Kerala, major milestone right here in India. And that's not all, because while we were inaugurating the first phase of Vizhinjam port, number 43 on your screens is going to tell you what the plans are going to be in other parts of the country. This is the Sela Tunnel, built by the Border Roads Organization. This is in Arunachal Pradesh. It's the world's longest twin lane tunnel. If you understand that we had completely mucked up a policy of suggesting that the best way to safeguard our frontiers was to not build any roads there, then we realized one day in the 1960s that the Chinese had built a massive highway cutting across eastern Ladakh, also known as Aksai Chin, in order to connect into Tibet. Well, we needed to build road infrastructure. So, for the people of Arunachal Pradesh whose access has been cut off, for the security and defense of this country, ladies and gentlemen, this Sela Tunnel has been something which is fundamentally important and is going to change the face, world's longest tunnel. Now, category infrastructure, as we head on to number 44, we are nearing the halfway mark of our milestones. This bridge, okay, it's going to become iconic. You may have seen the photograph before. Well, that one bridge, ladies and gentlemen, was one of the key puzzle pieces in finishing the Udhampur-Srinagar-Baramulla rail link, which was completed in 2024. This now means that train services are available directly from Srinagar straight to Delhi. Okay? And that Chenab bridge which you just saw, ladies and gentlemen, one of the highest span bridges. If you look from the top of the bridge to the bottom of the valley, one of the highest span bridges in the world has been built, completed in 2024. We achieved something special over here, category of infrastructure. Now, let's move on to the next point 45 in the category of infrastructure, because I mentioned the BRO. Well, the BRO, Border Roads Organization, completed 111 projects worth 3,500 crore rupees in 2024. Think of the Sela Tunnel, think of what is happening in the north of Uttarakhand, think of Jammu and Kashmir, all the places where our security forces required access. The BRO had the capacity to build the hard infrastructure. We are now building it. All sorts of logistics, timings, all weather road access is now available at the scope of 111 projects completed. Okay, 22 roads, 51 bridges, primarily for military use and many others for civilian use as well. A major milestone achievement in the road into 2025. Now, let's move ahead to number 46, Vadhavan Port. This is being inaugurated in Maharashtra. The construction has begun. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a deep water seaport. We've begun work on this, and ladies and gentlemen, if we are going to increase our exports, as we've been mentioning, a large part of that, 80% of that, is going to be through sea trade, which means that the cost of logistics of sea trade are the competitive advantage between suppliers all over the world. We need to build these ports, and this means states in northern India, central India, rail connectivity, Maharashtra, of hopefully IMEC, India Middle East Corridor, and beyond. The world is open. Well, inauguration, you can see PM inaugurating that a short while ago, 2024. Now, let's move ahead now to the next category, and I put this category as the green economy because that's important for us to consider. Look at this figure. India's non-fossil fuel based power generation hit a record 213.7 gigawatt. Now, of this, non-fossil fuel means not oil and gas. Of this, only 7 gigawatts is nuclear, which means 200 gigawatts of hydropower, wind and solar is now being produced. Ladies and gentlemen, India, one of the world's largest economies, the world's largest population, is about to turn a historic milestone. We are nearly 50% of our power production and demand is going to be non-fossil fuel, and within the few weeks of 2025 we will probably flip onto the other side, which means the majority of the power produced in India will be non-fossil fuel. 213.7 gigawatts of it already, and another 120 gigawatts is under construction. So 50% of this is under construction, and that's going to be coming online in record time. Number 48, when it comes to the green economy, and I've done a little bit slightly different. Tiger deaths in India have gone down by 1/3, 37% in 2024. Now, the reason this is important is because this is talking about the health of your ecosystem, your green economy, your forest reserves, your national parks, your tiger reserves, okay? Because tigers not only die because they're hunted, they also die because of ecosystem collapse, because of encroachment, because of felling of trees, because of pollution. So the fact that India has 75% of the world's tigers, about the 4,000 mark, the fact that less of them are now deceased through various causes means there's an indicator that your green indicators, happy sign, okay, not only in the preservation of a species but overall for India's green economy. Now, point number 49, as we near the halfway mark of 101 milestones, EV sales in India have gone up by 25.6%. Now, this is fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, every year we sell about 18 million two-wheelers and about 4 million four-wheelers. The target is 30 by 30, which means 30% of all new cars sold, we want them to be electric by 2030. We have now hit about 1.5 million electric vehicles, mostly two-wheelers being sold. In order to hit 30%, we'll have to be somewhere near the 7 million to 8 million EVs sold mark. If we keep growing at 25%, we'll be there by 2030, probably even before that. So imagine this, where the majority of our electrical powered generation is happening through non-fossil fuels, and a third of all new cars that are being sold are electric, which means you're going into a green economy, less pollution, less dependence on oil and gas, more money for the exchequer, more savings for the foreign exchange, RBI reserves. Ticket item, watch for this milestone achieved. Number 50, this is mind-boggling, the exponential growth. Ladies and gentlemen, India has a rooftop solar peak expected maximum capacity, that about 15 crore houses we can do rooftop solar in. We can potentially generate 800 gigawatts of power just from rooftop solar. And I want you to think about this figure on your screens, because in rooftop solar, ladies and gentlemen, it's mind-blowing. The Pradhan Mantri Yojana for this came out. 1.5 crore houses applied for the Yojana. 6.5 lakh houses actually got rooftop solar. And the reason this is absolutely fascinating is that we were producing about 1.82 gigawatts of electrical power from rooftop solar just 18 months ago. we are now producing 10, 11 gigawatts of power from rooftop solar within 18 months. Okay. Now imagine if the 1.5 crore houses who want it versus the 15 crores who can actually have it. Potential market size, 1.5 crores have applied for it, 6.4 lakh have got it. This means that if everybody gets rooftop solar, you're looking at not 1x, 2x, 3x. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at 20, 30x, which means 200 to 300 gigawatts of electrical power generated on the houses of people, on institutions, on office buildings. Number 51 on your screens, and we take the opportunity to stick with green economy. We mentioned non-fossil fuel. Have a look, 94.4 gigawatts of solar power capacity in India in 2024. Of the 5 largest solar parks in the world, 2 are now in India. This is growing exponentially. It has doubled in the past 2.5 years. It is expected to double again in the next 2.5 years. India is going to be one of the largest solar green energy producers in the world in quick time. Major milestone achieved in 2024. Number 52 on your screens, wheat production. A record 113 million tons in 2024. So we set a record for wheat production in 2024 in this country, and you know it's a staple whole grain. Now let's take up the immediate next point, number 53, because it's interrelated. Rice production, a record 120 million tons. Record wheat, record rice, record fruits, record vegetables. Ladies and gentlemen, we now produce enough to feed our country. Okay. Now we have to ensure that people who want to buy food can get it at a reasonable sum. We have the world's largest food distribution scheme that is providing free grains to 800 million people every year. But at the same time, we have to ensure that the farmers get a good price for what they are producing. So therefore, we can't export all the rice and wheat. We lose a lot in storage, 30-40%. But in terms of sheer production, record 2024. Bumper crops notwithstanding, the trend is breaking records every year. Happy thing for India's economy, happy thing for India's agriculture sector, happy thing for India's green economy. Number 54 on your screens. In the green economy, ethanol blending, ladies and gentlemen, India, we figured, needed about 1200 to 1300 crore liters every year of ethanol to hit this target. We are already producing 1600 crore liters of ethanol every year. In 2025, this year, this 15% is going to go to 20% ethanol blending, which means ethanol which comes from sugarcane and corn and other biomass from crops, that is 20% less oil you need to import to pump into your cars that burn petroleum. Okay? That's 20% less money you need to spend abroad in importing all of this. Okay? And by the very nature, it's a green fuel. The reason it's a green fuel is that you grow the crop that absorbs the CO2 from the air, and then that crop is turned into ethanol, which then burns and puts the CO2. So it's net neutral roughly, which is why it's called a green fuel. 15% done, mark achieved in 2024, well ahead of time. 20% by 2025, we are easily going to make it in terms of our production capacity. Number 55 on your screens in the category of green economy, and I want to mention this. The reason I'm mentioning this is Lakshadweep. There is a 3600 crore plan that has been promulgated at the beginning of 2024 for the redevelopment of Lakshadweep. Now we get an opportunity as a country to bring the best of human knowledge, because the solution to the world's progress is not to do no development, but it is to do sustainable and environmentally conscious, environmentally stable development. So all of the world's knowledge, when we are building all the things that need to be built in Lakshadweep, including the fact that we need to build the peripheral roads and the ferry services, we need to build, improve the airport, the docking services, the tourist facilities. How do we do this while being green? is a massive opportunity, milestone opportunity for India and setting an example for the world. Now let's shift categories as we head into point number 56 and head into high tech. Smartphone exports, ladies and gentlemen, crossed 20,000 crore. That means made in India phone, smartphone, okay, 20,000 crores. 20,000 crore, ladies and gentlemen, is nearly $2.5 billion of phones were assembled and exported from India. The day we have our own lithium and can make our own batteries, and we can make our own silicon chips and make the motherboards and make the screens, you will have the true made in India phone. But for now, at least we have the capacity to assemble in the clean rooms in India at record numbers. Number 56 on our screens. Number 57 of our milestones on our screens in the category of high tech. UPI breaks records. Look at this. 15,500 crore transactions took place with a total worth of 223 lakh crore rupees till November. You can easily add another 7-8% to that. So nearly 250 lakh crores of transactions happen in UPI in what is by far the world's largest, most consumed digital payment system. You're going to see this milestone cracked and broken again in 2025, but here's one for the record books for sure. Number 58 on your screens in the category of high technology. What are we achieving? How can we do it without mentioning ISRO? This is a photograph of the test firing of the CE-20 cryogenic engine. This engine, which has been successfully test fired by ISRO a few weeks ago in November of 2024, is what is going to power your human Gaganyaan missions. So this is the engine that we're going to trust with putting lives into space in orbit as Gaganyaan comes to the fore. This we did. ISRO, good job in achieving this milestone for India in 2024. Number 59 on your screens in the category of high tech. This is been recently inaugurated. Boost to the Indian Navy. It's called the INS Tushil. It's a stealth frigate. An assessment of India's Air Force and Indian Navy is taking place. Now, we've commissioned this frigate. It's coming with a lot of Russian technology built in, but a lot of technology sharing which is happening, and the material sciences and the various kinds of design systems that we need. Design and materials is what makes for a stealth frigate. And we are seeing a lot of that technology transfer here in India. So for the Navy, a major milestone in high tech. Number 60 on your screens in high tech as we progress down the milestone list. You would have missed this. So I've included this. For the first time in the history of India, we have started auctioning offshore mineral mining blocks. So far you remember Bombay High and the oil and gas facilities and offshore oil drilling. Well, the future, ladies and gentlemen, is offshore mineral resource gathering. And the first mining blocks have been auctioned for the first time in 2024. It's going to be an industry that is exponentially going to increase, which means the underwater UAVs, the offshore rigs that will have to be created, the systems that have to be created in terms of cargo vessels that will carry what is being pulled out of the ocean floor. The surveillance industry that is going to survey this, geological surveys, mining. Well, 2024 was a milestone here because this happened for the first time. Number 61 on your screens in terms of high tech. The solar probe of ISRO, Aditya L1, achieved a stable orbit. Milestone in the data that we get on what is happening with the sun. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the sun is the source of all life, all energy, everything on the earth. It is also the source of lots of radiation. It's the source of solar storms and solar flares. So monitoring the sun and what's happening, crucial in space science, and ISRO now has its own probe which has hit that crucial mark of the balance point of gravity between the earth and the sun, which is what L1 is all about. 62 on your screens in the realm of high tech. India's first private military aircraft manufactory was inaugurated in Vadodara. That's the Prime Minister of Spain with Narendra Modi inaugurating it, because We need to be building our own military aircraft. How is it that even when we have to buy a helicopter, we have to import it from abroad? Even if the VIPs need a helicopter, we've been doing this Augusta Westland and this scam and that scam. Well, Airbus is going to make these aircraft now in India. You're seeing an example on your screens. So we're going to see technology transfer, and more importantly, people who will be working on these for the first time ever, inaugurated 2024. Number 63 on your screens, in the realm of high tech, the first state-of-the-art semiconductor fabricator. If you've been watching NewsX for the past several years, you know me personally, the news channel talked about this. Every single thing in the world has a chip inside it. How can you be an industrialized country, being the third or fourth largest economy in the world, if you don't make any of those chips? Well, Tata Electronics with TSMC, which is the Taiwanese major, 91,000 crore rupee investment. The construction of the plant has started. It's expected to generate 20,000 high-tech jobs in this country, and it is expected to be operational within a couple of years and will be producing millions of chips per week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, big ticket item 2024. Number 64 in the realm of high-tech, BrahMos missiles. That we can make them is old news. Here's the new news. We just sold a bunch to the Philippines and delivered them, which means, ladies and gentlemen, high-tech cruise missiles made and co-developed in India are now contributing to foreign exchange earned from India from a foreign country for the first time. That's the delivery that took place of the BrahMos. Major achievement. 65 in the category of high tech on your screens, and of course, how can we not mention this? Happened just a few weeks ago, the first long range hypersonic ballistic missile, and we'll put some visuals on your screen. Ladies and gentlemen, we successfully carried out this test. Hypersonic missile, so you know subsonic, then you know supersonic. Well, this travels at 3 kilometers per second. It has a 1,500 kilometer range. There are only 4 countries on this world that have a payload capacity that has hypersonic, potentially, and this is unofficial, but potentially ballistic missile capable and nuclear capable, but that's a potentiality. But the test is visible on your screens. Major high-tech achievement. Only 3 other countries in the world really can do this effectively. Now, number 66, as we swap forward into the next category of governance and culture. Third term for PM Narendra Modi happened, of course, in 2024. The world's largest ever, in the history of humankind, the largest ever democratic process took place. A government in India was formed, and Narendra Modi made history of more than sorts by returning for the 3rd time, 3 times in a row, to be sworn in as a Prime Minister. That happened, of course, in the earlier part of May-June 2024. Now, sticking with the category of governance and culture, let's shift focus to number 67 in the milestones of 2024. One nation, one subscription, which means for all the people who are researchers, students, running labs, running institutions, academic journals are crucial to innovation and research. Well, this is going to triple access, make it cheaper to the best journals from India and abroad for crores of people. Now, I've studied abroad, so I know that this access provided by universities was so crucial to everything we did. It was core to it. Digital archives of all these journals was core to whatever we studied. Imagine the students getting the access at a very reasonable cost. Big ticket item in governance and culture. Number 68 in governance and culture on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, Jammu and Kashmir. For the first time in the history of independent India, Jammu and Kashmir celebrated Constitution Day. Now, I know it's a small point that they had a ceremony and they celebrated Constitution Day, okay? But I think anybody watching this who has any familiarity with India understands the significance of that milestone, number 68 on your screens. Let's move with that number 69 on our screens, because we saw this happening in January, Ayodhya Ram Temple inauguration. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an issue that we were fighting over, a property dispute happening within the family of India, because I'm not a believer in the two-nation theory. unlike Lord Curzon and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, a property dispute was going on within the family. It was to the benefit of the family that the property dispute got resolved. It was a catharsis to 800 million Hindus in this country who couldn't understand the denial that we were operating under, that no temples were destroyed. Yes, temples were destroyed. That's why all the old temples which are 1,000, 1,500 years old are all in South India. Yes, they were done hundreds of years ago. Yes, we should address them. Yes, maybe every park cannot be dug up to find a new temple, but certainly Ayodhya was one of them. It's done. It happened in the best possible circumstances. It happened in the most peaceful possible circumstances and the more cathartic possible circumstances. So for sure, how can we create a compendium of 2024 and not mention this as a milestone? And we put it under the category of governance and culture. Number 70 on your screens now coming up. Uttarakhand, ladies and gentlemen, became the first Indian state to pass the Uniform Civil Code. Now, contentious, and this is going to be something that we're going to be discussing as a large issue as we go through the course of 2025 and beyond. Should it be done, should not be done? I'll leave that debate to all the people, but in terms of a milestone, one state in India has started. Will it be all the states doing it? Will the center do it? We shall find out. Watch this space. And keeping on that note in governance, number 71 on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, the Citizenship Amendment Act, very contentious a few years ago, when it was implemented. And what you're seeing, a photograph on your screens, of those are people actually who got citizenship of India who had fled neighboring countries. And given what's happening in Bangladesh right now maybe the logic of that can be better understood. I'm not saying there are not contentious issues related to this, but certainly a milestone achievement has been completed over here. Number 20 in 2024. Number 72 in governance and culture on your screens. The Indian Penal Code was replaced by the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the 3 new laws which the upgrades have happened. They've been rolled out, as you know, in Chandigarh. Indian Penal Code built 150 years ago, 160 years ago, updated, removing the colonial era laws. Yes, the lawyers are saying that we have to learn so many new sections, and the judges will have to, and the police will have to also, but in the direction of where we need to be headed, major milestone in the governance of this country. Number 73 in the category of governance and culture, 35 years of, in case you missed it, the Tripura Peace Accords were signed in 2024. 35 years of insurgency ended with the signing of the Tripura Peace Accords, because we talk about all the crisis happening in Manipur and what's going to happen with the Bangladesh border and how do we do the fencing. Well, one major achievement did happen, and let's not undercut that. It's certainly a major milestone for 2024. Number 74 on your screens of the 101 milestones as we head to the 3/4 way mark, Nalanda University being inaugurated, ladies and gentlemen, the new campus, one of the world's most, if not the most historic university of the ancient times, older than Alexandria of Egypt, older than Athens. Look at the photographs of what the new campus now looks like. The return to Nalanda as an educational institution of global repute with the best infrastructure of the modern age. That happened in 2024. Number 75 on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, still in governance and culture, Bengali, Marathi, Pali Prakrit and Assamese. In case you missed it, all of these were given the status of classical languages in this year, 2024. And that, ladies and gentlemen, gives us an opportunity to shift to the next category as we move beyond governance and culture, as we move beyond into the various things, or we'll mention this first. I've included this because it's something we've completely forgotten about. India, with a 2,500 kilometer long coastline, was not considered a maritime. We talk about maritime powers, we talk about, Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus. Well, we've had an amazing maritime history. Okay, the port of Lothal in Gujarat, Harappan times, you're talking about 2,500, 3,000 years old, maybe older. Okay, well, the first Indian Maritime Heritage Conclave was organized. Number 77 then on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, elections happened in J&K, first time since the abrogation of 370. Important exercise took place, definitely a milestone in New India, that after the abrogation we moved on, we had a democratic process, and an election was held, and yes, Omar Abdullah became chief minister once again in Jammu and Kashmir, but of a different kind of a Jammu and Kashmir. Let's see how that pans out, something we're going to be watching closely. Number 78 now on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, as we shift now categories to foreign policy. I'm mentioning this because you would have missed it in the various, we have Joe Biden and, G20 and Quad. Draupadi Murmu, the President of India, became the first Indian head of state to go to Fiji. Okay? These are important visits because these countries seek India's leadership and India's voice of the global south. They are voting members in the UN General Assembly and the various UN councils, and they require leadership, and India is able there. We have to pay attention and invest in that association. We just can't be obsessed with what the Americans think of us. Well, we cared about what the Fijians think of us as well, and that's why the Indian head of state was there. Number 79 now, and also comes in the category of foreign policy. PM Narendra Modi became the first Indian PM to visit Ukraine since 1992. Historic visit, you're seeing there on your screens. He went to Russia also, he went to Kiev also. There he is with Vladimir Zelensky visiting Ukraine, and well, hopefully India has a role to bring some positivity in the logic of what is happening in the Ukrainian conflict as we head into 2025, and now of course a new Trump presidency. Number 80 on your screens in the realm of foreign policy. Well, 100 nations attended that third Voice of Global South summit which took place in India. India, of course, remember, gave the African Union through its lobbying efforts a permanent seat in the G20, and we've been conducting this summit. The third one happened. 100 countries attended this summit virtually, that you can see on your screens over there. Number 81 in the category of foreign policy, India and Malaysia. We had such a caustic relationship until a couple of years ago under the former Prime Minister, who did everything possible to align himself with Pakistan, to break up even the Islamic world in terms of its functioning in the OIC. Well, Mahathir Mohamad is gone. His successor has just signed a comprehensive strategic partnership with India. And Malaysia, a key country in the ASEAN, therefore a key country in a future Quad. Well, good news happened on that front. Number 82 in the milestones of foreign policy, Sheikh Hasina, a refugee under asylum now in India after being ousted. Now, I know this is contentious because it's living history, but Muhammad Yunus did not win any election, and I'll leave it at that. 83 in terms of the milestones of foreign policy. For 4 years, eye-to-eye troop deployments along Ladakh, they ended in 2024. The disengagement process took place, and if you've been following news from India, you know how serious this was. Well, some handshakes have happened. That's a good news, a good milestone for everybody concerned, including all of us. Category number 84 now in the category of foreign policy. Number 84 in terms of milestones, we were re-elected to the UN Peace Building Commission. Make a note of all these small wins, okay? Because you're about to see the UN become front and center. The Donald Trump administration says we want to exit the WHO. Well, the WHO chief, who's been highly contentious, a person, who oversaw something that happened in Wuhan. Many would still think a total cover-up took place. So many controversies. The UN crucial, and this shows India's popularity between the voting members who constitute the UN General Assembly. We won that election, and we are back in the UN Peace Building Commission. Also talks about our peace building credentials. Category foreign policy, milestone number 85, $3.5 billion. That looks like a familiar, yeah, it's a photograph of Predator drone. Well, Joe Biden and Narendra Modi signed that deal, $3.5 billion, 31 drones, UAVs to be procured from America. It's a signal not only of tech transfer, India's aerial reconnaissance and aerial fighting capacity, but also the fact that despite a democratic administration, these deals, which go into the billions of dollars, indicate foreign policy positioning as well. Well, that happened in 2024. Number 86 in terms of milestones on your screens in the category of foreign policy, we are talking about FTA with UK. Here's the one that you missed. Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland, they operate under something called the EFTA, the European Free Trade Zone Association, and India and the EFTA now have a free trade agreement. Okay? So again, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland, under an FTA. We are working on the FTA with the UK, Australia, so many other places which need to be fine-tuned. Number 87 in the realm of milestones in the category of foreign policy, a cultural property agreement was signed between India and the US, and that's a photograph of Joe Biden returning these antiquities to Narendra Modi in India. We'll put some more information rapidly on your screens as I scroll through these things. Ladies and gentlemen, India's history, one of the only places in the world which is a civilizational history, which goes back literally into time immemorial, before written history was ever noted down, is being robbed. And you find all these artifacts being sold all over the world. Well, good to have them back. I don't even want to count how many of them are sitting in Windsor Castle and Robert Clive's house and the British Museum. Hopefully they'll cough it up also. At least the Americans are helping in this case. Number 88 in terms of milestone achievements, the India-UAE bilateral investment treaty came into effect in 2024. So that's a milestone achievement that happened in 2024 in India-UAE relations, despite all the bonhomie that is there all around, as it is in these relations that are looking really, really positive, despite all the almost calamitous issues that are taking place in the Middle East right now. This is a beacon of hope, a ray of light. Number 89 on your screens, and as we shift to the category of women, women income tax filers increased by a quarter, 25% in 2024, went up by 25%. This cannot be anything but good news, that more women are earning and more women are earning more. And that's a happy sign. I know it's a statistical sign, but it's a happy sign in the growth to women-led development in this country. Then number 19, and this is a good anecdotal one, 11 lakh women became Lakpati Didi. So the Government of India scheme that says that a woman in a family should be able to earn 1 lakh rupees a year. So about 10 or 12,000 rupees a month. Okay, whether they become drone Didis, or they can help farmers with taking photographs from drones and doing surveillance, or other occupations. Well, 11 lakh women, that means 11 lakh women in these families themselves were earning 1 lakh rupees a year, which in some rural areas can be a game changer. Good to see this happening and good to see this milestone being hit, which was just a promise 2 years ago. It's a reality as we speak right now. Number 91 on your screens, and this is an interesting one. Squadron leader Mohana Singh became the first woman to join the Flying Bullets Squadron, which is the elite squadron of the Indian Air Force. Fighter pilot flying in an elite squadron, the first woman to do so. She took that position, that seat in 2024. Number 92 on your screens, and staying with the category of women, and I'll end it with the category of sports. Maharashtra began this scheme. Now, let's put aside the politics of it, because I'll talk about the Delhi scheme also after this, okay? But the Mukhyamantri Ladki Behan scheme, ladies and gentlemen, on face value, providing 1,500 rupees to 1 crore women. It's only 1,500 crores in the larger scheme of things, but that's 1,500 rupees going to the pockets of women. And we know that all the developmental indicators tell us that when women have better education and more money, they are more likely to spend that money on better nutrition, portion, on better education. So the developmental indicators spiral by giving the money to women, empowering women, and this happened. And of course that takes me to 93. The amount is being debated in number 93, and I know this is yet to pan out, but I've included it because it's happening in Delhi as well. So this is being replicated across the country. Doesn't make a difference which political party is doing it. It's good news for the women of this country. It's good news for the development of this country. That is number 93 of the Delhi scheme, which is the Mukhyamantri Mahila Samman scheme, which is similar, if not the same, politics aside. Number 94 on the list of milestones remaining in the category of women is something that happened in the budget. A record 3 lakh crore rupees was allocated for women's schemes by the Woman Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in the Union Budget of 24-25. Now, let's shift focus to end on a really, really positive note, because sports, ladies and gentlemen, Asha Lata Devi, woman achiever in sports, became the first Indian to play 100 international football matches. Kudos to Asha Lata Devi. Many congratulations to her. Major milestone in 2024 for her. Number 96 on your screens, and now picking up on the category of women. I mentioned this point because it's a really interesting one. mining is not an area where we would have considered women employment. Now, this is a Tata mine, it's operating in Normandy, okay. It has started its first all women mining shift, okay, and this is after the laws allowed it to happen. So, kudos to this mine run by the Tatas for having, and you can see the photographs on your screens, of first all woman mining shift. And like I said, I wanted to end it on a happier note as we near the 101 mark. Well, number 97 on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, milestones, the familiar ones, Manu Bakar and her Olympic medals, okay, and hopefully all forms filled with standing, a Khel Ratna for her to put into the bag. Woman sports person, doing well, proud of her, and she's won laurels for her country and of course been an inspiration to women. Happy news, and that takes us smoothly into point number 98 on your screens, which is of course all of you already know. That's the Olympic tally: 6 medals, 1 silver, 5 bronze at the Paris Olympics. We are hoping that we're going to be doing a whole lot better. We're also hoping that Olympics will be done in India at some point of time. Number 99 in the category of sports, as we round this up, it's okay to mention one thing to do with cricket in a list of 101 milestones. So why not? Yeah, we won the T20 Men's World Cup of the ICC, ladies and gentlemen. It was something memorable for a lot of people. So let's give ourselves or the team and the people who support the team a pat on the back. And number 100 on our screens, obviously, hey, he's biting that medal. Gukesh, World Chess Championship title holder now. And that's the handshake that did it, defeating the Chinese Grandmaster. And that happened as we ended 2024. And of course, right before that was number 101 on your screens to wrap up our 101 milestones. Ladies and gentlemen, the Paralympics, 29 medals, 7 golds, the highest ever haul of an Indian Paralympic team. What an achievement and a credit to that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone through the 101 points in this marathon telecast. We put together this for you. You can find the entire report if you find NewsX on X, which is @NewsX. On newsx.com, there's a special page dedicated to this. You'll find hundreds of articles detailing each of those milestones. You're going to find a lot of commentary, opinions from pieces on this, and join us. The hashtag is #BPR2024. We are going to make this an annual exercise to get you a ready reckoner, a compendium. But I'm hoping this put a lot of perspective from the macro picture to the micro picture to what you already knew to what I'm hoping you found it very interesting to find out of where India is headed on the road to building Viksit Bharat 2047. That's the sign off. Thanks for watching.